Hey guys, Foxdrop here with the video that accompanies my first jungle patch 3.8 solo queue tier list. Now if you're watching this video through the Cloth 5 website itself, then you don't really need to pay attention to this next few minutes, but I'm just going to give a little introduction for those of you that are watching through my YouTube channel. So basically I'm now involved in a website called cloth5.com, which is pretty much like a new reign of gaming. Like, it's a new blogging site, and you know, it's got some cool authors in there already, some people that are going to be contributing to that website, which are established, which are known people, some really good people, some guys who are like #1 ranked challenger 3v3, or just, you know, some cool kids basically. And I am one of those people, and I'm going to be doing some personal blogs, you know, like some of my opinions, stuff like that. I'm also going to be doing a tier list. Now my tier list is something which you guys, my audience, have been wanting me to do ever since I did those videos on Stonewall's tier list. You asked me to make my own one, and at the time I didn't really feel there was any necessity for that, but some people approached me and they asked me to do this, so I thought, why not just give it a go. Now the first thing I want to say obviously is that the link to this tier list, this is what it looks like right here, be in the description obviously, so you can click on that to check it out. But you may ask yourself, why would I do this tier list when Stonewall already does his? Like, not only might it seem redundant to you guys, but you know, like, I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. How can I compete with Stonewall? Well, really, I don't necessarily want to compete with him. Like, I don't think Stonewall is doing anything wrong. I like his tier list. His tier list, especially the new format, are very, very detailed and they're very good. My tier list is going to be slightly different though. Basically, his are more theory crafted stuff and they're his opinion. Mine is going to be taken from, it's going to be focused purely on solo queue, and it's going to be from my experience playing at Diamond 1. I know Stonewall himself isn't quite as high as Diamond 1, so he doesn't necessarily have the experience from playing that high. And I'm also going to be drawing in the opinions of some other highly ranked players, maybe even some professional players if I can get a hold of them, just to make this tier list the best it can be. And I'm also going to be very interactive with it with you guys. So like in the comments, the video comments, or even in the article comments, I'll just be giving more information there. So basically, that's the introduction. If you're interested in any of my thoughts outside of the videos that I do, then I do suggest that you follow this Cloth 5 website and you keep an eye on the things which I do. Or you can follow me on like my Facebook, my Twitter, or whatever, my social medias, because I will probably be posting on there whenever I do have a blog that's released. So if you don't want to follow me strictly on here, then you can do it on my social medias. But that's out of the way. So talking about this tier list, so getting into the tier list. So first off, because this is the first video, the first tier list I've ever done, let's talk a bit about the structure. This is all explained in the article itself, but I'm just going to go over it very quickly for you guys in this video. There's going to be 5 different tiers. There's going to be the elite tier, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. Now they're going to be, these champions are going to be judged on their just basically how good they are overall in solo queue. So, and they're not within the tiers themselves. They're not rated within the tier. So the first champion in tier 1 is not necessarily better than the champion that's listed last in tier 1. Also, that's pretty much like all there is to it. And so like the elite junglers are just like, you know, I've got explanations right here as to how these tiers, you know, what type of champions fit in these tiers. Elite is very, very select, and it's going to be just those champions which are just first pick, first ban, just like broken basically champions, really good in the current patch. Tier 1 are champions which are very good in the current patch, but not stupidly broken or, you know, really, really good. And then it just gets, you know, slightly worse, slightly worse, slightly worse. You can read all that on this article yourself. So the actual tier list itself, this is it. I'm just gonna go. I won't read this all out for you because you can look at the article yourself. But I'll just talk a bit about it. So the elite tier is Nunu. Nunu is sitting on this elite tier just because he is so dumb. Like, Nunu is just, he is broken. There's nothing really else to say about it. Nunu, the way he plays in the current patch. When Riot, they buffed him and gave him, well, they just buffed him overall, and then they gave him those, like, really, those weird, like, consume buffs, which in my opinion are just completely unnecessary. But when they then afterwards in 3.8, like, changed the jungle, so like counter jungling, and so that buffs were really, really important, they were much more valuable and worthwhile. Nunu just goes through the roof because it's not just that he's the king of counter jungling. The problem with Nunu is that it's not as though you can, with normal counter jungling there is a counter play to counter jungling, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It's like if someone goes to counter jungle you, there's stuff you can do about it. You can ward up, you can try catch them out, you can collapse on them. Against Nunu, you can't really do any of that. Like, you can't do any of that. And if you're not at your buff the minute it spawns, even if you're there the second it pops up, Nunu can probably just like saunter into your jungle, stroll around and be like, oh, I see, oh, that's a nice blue buff you got. It'll be a shame if someone Consume and Smite stole it, and boom, Consume Smite steals it and just buggers off again. And your team can't do anything about it. Even if they saw him coming, he's too fast, he'll just slow you away and he'll steal it instantly. So he's just really dumb in this current patch, and there's no real counterplay to him, which is why I put him in the elite tier. And he's the only elite tier champion in my eyes. Now tier 1 are just the really good junglers. I'll list all these out for you just because tier 1 is just for really good champions. So Zac, Elise, Evelynn, Hecarim, Jarvan, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Maokai, Nautilus, Nocturne, Rengar, Sejuani, Shaco, Udyr, and Xin Zhao. Now these tier 1 junglers are just people you could pick into pretty much any team comp. Really just good junglers overall. Have really like varied item builds which they can go, or they just have really good roles in many team comps. They're not niche picks by any means. You can pick them. If you got these champions every single game, you'd still have a pretty good chance of winning all of those games. I'm not saying they're like, stupidly OP or anything, but these are the champions which are really good. And if they were to be nerfed, they would be in line for nerfs. Now I'm not saying they're all OP, but if Riot were to take a look at some people, they'd probably take a look at the ones in tier 1. Or if they're not seen too much at the moment. For example, Xin Zhao and Maokai aren't necessarily seen a lot in solo queue. I mean, at high reload they're seen obviously a lot more, which is what I'm basing this around. But they're not too popular at the moment, but that doesn't mean that they're not really, really good. Even in the LCS, Hercubot specifically from SK Gaming has been playing a lot of Xin Zhao. Why? Because Xin Zhao is really good. Obviously, I'm not, competitive plays isn't being taken into account when I put him in tier 1, but it's impossible for me to make a tier list that focuses purely on solo queue without just making the comparisons into competitive play. If something sucks in competitive play, chances are it's not going to be very good in solo queue, but there are obviously exceptions in that, and obviously in the other way around as well. So if something's really, really good in solo queue, chances are it's good in competitive play as well. There is a strong overlap. It's not 100%. So someone like Shaco, for example, is not played a lot in competitive play, but is a lot better in solo queue than he is in competitive play. So obviously it doesn't work for everyone, but there's still going to be some overlap. And for someone like Xin Zhao, if you see him in competitive play, you can pretty much be sure that he's good in solo queue, and he is good in solo queue. Now these other tiers, tier 2 are good junglers, tier 3 are junglers you can play, but they're not great junglers, but they're okay, but they're not amazing. And tier 4 are really those just kind of jokey picks, niche picks, fun picks, not amazing junglers by any means. So like what I've got here, Katarina, Wukong, Warwick, Vayne, Teemo, Talon, Sion, Singed, Rumble, Poppy, like they're not great junglers, but they can work in the jungle. If you want to play them and you're like playing around with some friends or something, you pick these guys in the jungle, you're not 100% screwed or anything. They can jungle, basically. They can jungle, but you really shouldn't jungle with them. That's pretty much where it is. And also, if there is some junglers here which you feel should be in this tier list, if you're going to ask me where does X champion belong, chances are it's a tier 4 pick. I went through the whole champion list and I don't think I've really missed anyone out. They're just, if you're not sure about something, chances are it is a tier 4 jungler, as in something that can work but isn't really that good. And it's probably the reason why you'll ask me where their place is, because you're like, oh, I played him and went 10 for 1, he's a really good jungler. Well, based off one game, then yeah, these guys can work. Like I say, they can be, like, literally just an hour ago I played a Katarina game and went legendary, but that doesn't mean that the Katarina jungle is OP or anything like that. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about the tier list. I've written some more detailed descriptions in the article itself, and like I say, I'll be I'll be trying to keep up with a lot of the comments and things like that and questions in the description. Description, what the hell? In the comments, not the description. But thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoy this new installment of stuff that I'm going to be doing on Cloth 5. I think a lot of you will find them interesting. Please follow me on my Facebook, on my Twitter, on my Nook if you do want to see the posts that I make, the blogs and stuff like that. Just some thoughts. For example, there's an article that's already been released, which is it's about the jungle items and basically how it's impossible to balance the jungle items. So Spirit of the Elder Lizard, Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, those items, it's impossible to balance them because the laners will always get more benefit out of them than the junglers will. The best things about these items is their gold efficiency, pretty much. You know, I obviously go into a lot more detail in the article itself, but basically it's all about the gold efficiency. That's the best thing about it for the junglers is the gold efficiency, because junglers are gold starved. However, you put gold efficient items on the market, then the laners will buy them a lot earlier than Riot ever intended. But that's just the way it's going to go. Like that's really, there's no real alternatives, although I do suggest a few alternatives. But anyway, I'll put a link to that article in the description as well. That might interest you. I don't know, I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to writing articles anyway, so I'm sorry if they're not highbrow and high quality and stuff like that, but still, thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoy the tier list itself. I'll try to update these, get new tier lists out for every patch that comes out, every major patch that comes out, at least when there are champion balances and stuff like that. But thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in my next video.